Are there any stocks or ETFs to take advantage of for the Inflation Reduction Bill, or did I miss the chance?
All right, the Inflation Reduction Bill. I love this. It's marketing. Who would vote against the Inflation Reduction Bill, right? I mean, you have to vote for that. So they name these things, and so this is the big bill that we've been hearing about just recently that Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer have agreed upon, apparently in the basement of the Capitol or something, on some kind of handshake deal, and it includes a 15% minimum tax, at least in its current framework, right? A 15% minimum tax to corporations, which has already been agreed upon as something that they want to go for with the G20. All the big countries out there are trying to get to this 15% minimum tax. And then there's money that would go towards health care, specifically drug cost reductions, and obviously clean energy, which is one of the big ones. And uh, so here are the investment opportunities as you look at what's happening since that was announced. All the clean energy things popped.
Hmm.
I mean, all of them really hard. And we actually put a little bit of maybe 3% of our overall portfolio towards clean energy today. And there's other things going on with clean energy, and that's why I don't think that you've missed the boat already. First of all, they haven't passed this. We still have to get, I mean, that's been, unfortunately, the Senate has been a place where things have gone to die, right? I mean, let's face it, and there's no guarantee that Kristen Sinema is going to, get behind this either. So, it's not only have you not gotten too far down the road with this, but it might not even happen.
Hmm.
But the one thing I do like about clean energy is it's actually been outperforming the market since the invasion of Ukraine, because there is this thought process that one of the replacements for Russian oil, gas, and coal, natural gas and coal, will be clean energy, especially in Europe, right?
Hmm.
Um, I don't think clean energy is far enough along to completely replace fossil fuels, but that path just became wider, and there's money maybe being thrown at it even by this bill. So that's the one area that I would look at for that aspect of it. Even if it doesn't pass, I still think there's something to be said there. If it doesn't pass, probably the prices where we're at right now because of that jump would drop back. But again, look 12 months down the road and it probably has a good chance still of outperforming the market. That could mean less loss,
Hmm.
unfortunately, right, if the market goes down farther. But just because of the dynamics of what have happened there, that's sort of forcing clean energy into the current time frame at a faster rate, right? Solar, wind, geothermal, all these things that'll be much more. I think there'll be a lot more investment across the world in those areas. We're finding out, and that energy, you're reliant upon these other countries to get your energy. In often cases, I know China's really pushing
Hmm.
towards being energy independent, and they're making a big push towards clean energy in that regards, right? And because again, China's they're having a conflict with earlier, late last year and early this year with Australia about coal, right? And so, if they get their own energy, they don't have to have those conflicts. And obviously, Europe really, really could have used a scenario where they had their own energy. If Europe was energy independent, Russia would be really, really getting hammered here with those sanctions. But ironically, the sanctions are making Russia richer, at least on the sale of oil, because it's
Hmm.
driven up the price of all these all these energy sources that they're selling. So I don't think it's too late. I think it's actually maybe too early. But the one area that we're looking at and have some interest in is in that clean energy area.
Yeah, and the thing about clean energy, as technology gets better and better, the cost to produce gets down and down. And once it starts at, I think it's starting to get to a point where it can compete on some of the more expensive, resource intensive energy productions.
Yeah.
And so there's also the issue that they have to still solve is where do we store this energy when there's a low period in production?
It's two issues: storage and transmission.
Hmm.
So storage, they're working on these big
Yeah.
battery banks and what have you. We've seen that. And there's other things. There's some interesting storage arenas that are happening. There's one where I saw where they use solar to basically take oxygen and liquefy it, and then they let it back out and drive these turbines and what have you. And there's some really interesting things happening there. But transmission is also a problem. So if you're a country like the U.S., you have wind in one part of the country, you might put a lot of solar, windmills there, but they need, energy across the country. And the way that they do energy now is sort of regional, right? Because you can ship coal and natural gas and or pipeline it or whatever. You have to have a way to transmit it, and we don't have an infrastructure that will say, okay, I can put windmills in Washington State, for example. I'm making this up, but let's say they have high wind, and still have that energy get to someplace farther away, even like Florida if they needed it. Maybe Florida, Arizona have sun, and that has to go up into Michigan, that kind of thing. So transmission is an issue, and this is why I think it's hard for clean energy to completely eradicate. Also, the efficiency of clean energy versus the efficiency of the way that they can burn natural gas and oil and coal. Coal's less efficient, but nonetheless, those other two, and that's getting better and better, right? They're getting better and better at getting the energy out of solar panels and those type of things. But I remember an article a long time ago when they were talking about ethanol possibly replacing oil, because you could make gas out of ethanol, and that kind of thing. And then somebody did the calculation and figured out they'd have to basically blanket the earth in corn. Every ounce of the earth would be covered in corn. And so it's somewhat similar to that right now. Is there enough room for the solar panels in Europe, let's say, if they want to completely get off of this? And so that's why there's this potential gap right here. But there will be a tremendous amount of money probably going towards, at least as an add-on. So hey, we're gonna cut off from the gas from Russia, so we're gonna get liquefied natural gas, which can be shipped. There's piped gas, and there's LNG, liquefied natural gas, which gets shipped. And so that's one way you get around it, right? And so they have to have special ports, and there's only so much that can get shipped. And then maybe clean energy is a part. So clean energy is going to be a part of the answer, not the whole answer. But all it needs to be is a part for that investment to do better, especially since you're seeing, a lot of these clean energy pieces, ETFs, for example, are down, 40 to 80% from their highs that were established in February 2021. So ironically, they're still not cheap. Because these companies still don't have massive earnings. These aren't Apple or Amazon and Google. These are companies that I know, but you probably haven't heard of before. So, but they're a lot cheaper, and so there's some potential there.